Welcome back to the Ministry Without Hitting It podcast. Today is a little bit different than what we would normally do, and I'm here. This is Chad. I'm here.
Hi, Chad. I'm glad you.
Hey guys,
you're here.
This is, you know what? We're keeping this. Forget this. That's Brenton. And
I'm here.
And that is our good friend Billy Holden, who has been on this a few times. And today we're here for another episode of Shop Talk. We haven't done one of these in a minute, and so I'm excited to do this. But for those who have missed, please go back and listen to those. We can take all the downloads. But this is an episode where we focus on specific skills, challenges, or circumstances that are unique to the ministry leader, and then we'll unpack them in a way that's practical and certainly applicable. Today's topic is one that you guys know I've been wanting to do with both of you for a while, and that is ministry and events. And we've titled today's episode Resenting Easter, and there's a story behind that. It's not just a provocative title that kind of goes with our Ministry Without Hating It podcast title. Yeah. So the story, I don't know if you guys remember this. This would have been back in the days when we could all get together because we all lived in Indiana. And I can't remember if this was before Easter or after it, but we were certainly talking about either it was coming up or it had just happened. And I remember telling you guys that I was starting to come to the space where I realized I probably resent Easter, and not because I dislike Easter as the holiday or anything like that, but I struggle with the expectations sometimes that come with that, whether that's my own false self that percolates up in me, or maybe within our church and the culture that we have, or for sure the comparison traps that instantly come with it. And I remember I remember specifically that time that we were talking, and this may have been after, because I just remember most of my family is involved in ministry in some form or fashion, and we're texting on Easter, and we had all these people and all this, and at the time we're a church plant, and I'm like, I don't even want to talk about what happened to ours, kind of a thing. And so there's like this stuff that, as I have gone through, and that was years ago, I've been able to work through. But I thought, this would be a really great conversation, because as we're recording this, or timestamp this, we're mere weeks away from Easter 2025.
3 weeks? Yeah.
And less than, right? I think. And so surely this is on our mind. This is in our space. But this is not just applying to Easter. This can be all the major holidays that come up, or any other, big events that we would have, and the way we approach those, and then what it does to us on all levels, right? Yeah. And so I want to unpack like the pros and cons, but also maybe thinking strategically, and maybe passing along some things that people can take in mind when it comes to holidays and dealing with really their own pain points. And does that make sense?
Sure does. Sure.
Do you guys remember that story even?
Yeah. I remember having those conversations with you and going, it's going to be okay, Chad. We're going to get through this together.
That's right. That's right. Ministry is better together for sure. And so I'm so grateful for you guys. And that's why I think this is going to be a fantastic conversation. So let's start with a baseline for this conversation. Events in and of themselves are not always bad. Right? I think we can all agree with that. And can even be beneficial to our ministry, and maybe even the leadership that we're working with. So let's work backwards then. What have been some of your own points of pain when it comes to events and ministry?
I think you need a lot of volunteers to be able to pull off something on a large scale. And so that is always something that you're trying to drum up. You're trying to encourage people. You're trying to invite people. Obviously, there's budgetary needs that definitely can be impacted. The follow-up aspect, which I think is one of the most important ones, is always hard to do. Because you always have a Sunday coming, you always have what's next in mind, but really, if you just had 300 brand new people, there is a whole mess of follow-up that needs to take place. And if you even have that in place and wondering why they don't come back, and well, what did you give them to come back to? And so to have 1,000 people out for an Easter Sunday and then back to the same number or less the very next week has definitely taken a toll on every single person that volunteered for this big giant event. And so being able to set those expectations and talk through that and encourage that and kind of massage that and saying, we put the seed in the ground and now it's time to water it. Mm-hmm. And so I think those are the first ones that just jump out at me.
Yeah. I would say maybe some pain points for me that I've experienced are that in the expectation, everyone wants certain events. They're expecting something to happen around certain holidays or times of year. And I don't think they're bad things. So then there's this expectation and you start to put something together and gather a team for it. And then there's no team to do it, but the expectation is still there. Mm-hmm. So what is the self-imposed obligation, that kind of stuff, and what is actually supposed to happen? And that causes a tension inside of me as a, what is it? A recovering people pleaser. There's that tension and I want to make people happy. I also love to get people together and then I resent it when it all falls on my shoulders and I don't feel like it's spread evenly across the team that we have. Yeah. So that's a pain point that is real.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think too, like I have a tendency, and we're going to get into how we think strategically, even looking at the calendar, but when you have those years, so like last year, Easter was, if you guys remember, was at the end of March. Well, that's not really that much buffer when you're coming out of the holidays and then in maybe beginning of the year things and things like that. And so when things start getting stacked, I start to look at it and I go, do I even have the energy for this? Does my team have the energy for this? Is anybody going to quit when Easter is done? Kind of a thing. I think the pain points that I look at, and I talked a little bit about the comparison traps, and those kinds of things. You can look at others and are we as big? Are we as effective? Are we whatever you define as success, kind of a thing? But also to what is this going to take out of me when I go through it, and can be something that makes me hesitant to engage in these things or even maybe go bigger on some of these things. And I know we all have a different approach really when it comes to that kind of a thing. What are some of the things that you have struggled, or some areas of struggle that you have noticed when it comes to those that you're working with events?
The comparison, like you were talking about, I want for my staff, my volunteers, to have the same type of experience as the people we're putting on an event for. Yeah. And so then I struggle and like, I'm asking you to work, and I get it. Like that's what we're doing. However, sometimes I will say that the pain point is I will absorb more of that so other people can have more engage in that event or whatever with their own families. Because if we're thinking about families, I'm thinking about my volunteers. Yeah. I'm thinking about my own family. And so that would be one for me.
Yeah.
I think that goes along with one of ours. And what we're doing for Easter was a little more birthed out of what we do for Christmas, where we have our Christmas Adam service, because a lot of people that don't have a church background don't have the Christmas Eve tradition of going to church. And so they do church, or their tradition is go to grandma's house or go to the stepdad's house, or it's a divorced family, and there's all that. And so one of the things we noticed of doing a Christmas Adam service was that families could be together on Christmas Eve, families could be together on Christmas Day, and we weren't competing with something what they already had. We were complementing what they already had. And so we took that going into Easter, and the notorious egg hunt of what does an egg mean and all that stuff to the side. But
Yeah.
we never liked throwing eggs in a field and then letting everybody like John Cena each other, and,
Yeah.
and
Sure.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
like that wasn't hunting to us, and so we found different ways in years past of doing scavenger hunts with businesses in our city, with big mazes that were built out of pallets, and that was good. But one we did was a donkey egg hunt, and it was as we encouraged everybody to get off their donkey because Jesus got off his donkey too.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did that in 2022. 2023 was a big season of doubt coming out of COVID still of where's God in all this. And then 2024, it landed right at the bookends of spring break. And so we didn't want to mess with that rhythm of the community. But this year we brought it back. But instead of doing something Easter weekend and making Easter weekend be crazy on top of crazy, just like Christmas can be, we said, when did Jesus ride a donkey? And when did he get off? Well, let's talk about that on Palm Sunday.
Yeah.
And that allows every single one of our volunteers, just like they were able to spend Christmas with their family, they can now spend Easter with their family. And there'll still be the tradition of going to church, but they'll be able to leave church and not have this 6-hour event or 8-hour event or 10-hour event on Easter weekend that's pulling all the stressors out of everybody.
Yeah.
And they're still not body slamming people over an egg.
Yeah.
And so we moved ours to Palm, and then it's also an invite. All the kids get devotionals going through Holy Week and what that week looked like for Jesus. And then the invite to the people to come back for Easter. So
I like that.
The big deal not being on Easter.
So, and just to want to pull back a little bit. So I know what Christmas Adam is when you say that. For those who don't know what you're talking about, what is that?
Well, Adam came before Eve, and so December 3rd or 23rd is when we celebrate Christmas Adam. It is the opposite of the candlelight service, so it's ugly sweaters, Christmas cookies, loud music, and flashy lights, and craziness of Christmas, all balled into one holiday called Christmas Adam. So.
I love it. We do the 23rd. You know that we don't call. I couldn't get away with calling it Christmas Adam. Everybody rolled their eyes.
You just gotta do it.
I know everybody rolled their eyes at me, and I was just like, fine. So we just call it instead of going Christmas Eve, we just call it our Christmas service, and it's on the 23rd.
At least you did that. That's better.
I mean, meet in the middle, that kind of a thing. Where do you guys find that? And we can work backwards from this a little bit too. That events are just not working, or they have become too much. So whether it's for you, whether it's for your team, where do you see that pain point?
Like I said, ours have to have a purpose, and so if it's an event to just keep with culture, keep with the competition, like those events don't last the test of time.
Yeah.
Around here, it's something like when it's just something that we're doing to do something or to put something on a calendar, then we cut. Those are the first ones to get cut. But when there is a deep connection, not just with the community, but with the vision of the church, with the purpose of the event, and it fits the culture that we're trying to reach, to tell somebody to get off their donkey, and we just say you're just glad we're not Catholic or something. I don't know, and because we say bring your keister after Easter, and so we can't do that with that. And so it fits who we're trying to reach, the 67%, the factory culture, those who have walked out of the church and never wanted to walk back because it's everything they thought it was when they walked back in there, everything they experienced it. They're like, well, no, that church is saying it a whole different way. I've got to try that out because they're speaking my language. And so the more that we can do that with the event, like who's riding a donkey for Easter, like that is not normal. And so we're trying to speak their language and bring the message that everybody's talking on Palm Sunday about Jesus riding in on a donkey. So it's not, we're not changing the message, but we're ready to shake up that method in order to reach those that need to be reached.
Yeah. Well, and to that, I would say, so it's interesting because I have the same approach. Let me start with that. When it comes to, planning this, what core value or what are we trying to reinforce? And I can think of, we tried a couple of summers, and this last year we finally killed it, to strategically plan some things out because one of our core values is created for community. So we want to keep people connected throughout the summer and have smaller events, whether it was on a Saturday, sometimes after service. Well, we found that the engagement with that, and even if you do something in the community, some people would show up, but it was more work for us and really not as effective as it was. And kind of realizing we're fighting culture actually on that because they're leaving, they're going on vacation, or it's not that it's not important to them. It's just not the most important thing. And so for us, it was kind of like after we debrief, like, yeah, we had the right idea and the right direction, but we also have to take in our context, the circumstances around that, because that will also burn us out if we feel like we're not seeing something come forth from that.
Yeah. What are your values and how are you? Yeah, we did something similar. We actually had an event that was very popular, that was doing really well. We'd have 400 to 500 people roll through on for a harvest party that we did on Halloween, and that was great for a season. Mm-hmm. And then the city started putting on an event on the same date and time, and what we noticed that first year is we both did it, and everyone would come to our event. And then they'd roll right into the city's event. And we said, what are we accomplishing? We're just giving out more hot dogs and more cans of pop. And we're working really hard for this. And people are coming in, grabbing all the free stuff they can grab and going down the road. And it's just one more thing to do. So we started asking the city, how can we come alongside you and help you with your event?
Oh, that's good.
And we shut ours down. And now we just encourage everyone to go to that and be light right there in the middle of the city at City Hall. And, when they need us, we're there. So
I love that because it's not reinventing the wheel or trying to be the one with something. Yeah. It's actually the partnership of, because we've had even the way we do community, and this is a whole different podcast topic, but even the way we do community outreach, or we call it engagement, we don't have to have it all figured out. There are plenty out there that we could partner with to do this, and I think it thinks strategically with your community. I love that.
It builds trust in your community for sure. If you don't have to be the only one, like, this is our thing.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody else is doing it, but you have a heart for it, do that with them and keep your name off of it. Just go serve. And it builds a level of trust. I mean, it's always nice to get a shout out here and there, but if you're serving your community, they're going to know who you are. Yeah.
Brendan, you said something with the harvest thing that actually jogged my memory. When I transitioned here, they had started doing a trunk or treat, but because this is the end of 2020, it was COVID, it became a drive-through type of a thing. And we have a parking lot big enough to do that kind of a thing. And it was actually pretty successful as well. But then there was a couple things, like I said, everyone around here was doing trunk or treat around the same times. And then it also started to become a logistical, somewhat of a nightmare. Actually, one kid almost got hit, like coming through. I was just like, nope, we got to do this differently. And so we decided to back away from that holiday, still do something in fall, but then going ahead, reinforcing that community core value. And we called it a fall block party, where we do, if the weather permitting, which one year we had to do it inside. But we've got fire pits all around, s'mores, hot dogs, that kind of thing. We've got a big inflatable screen, and we'll do, the switch out there, bounce houses. So it becomes this community thing, a chili cook-off, which is like a real thing here, but it really brings people, and people invite people to it. And so I think you guys would agree, if something isn't working, it doesn't mean that the idea is bad. It means maybe we need to go back to the drawing board of how we do that. Seasons
change. Winter's coming. There's times for doing events, and there's times for letting that event sit for a while.
Yeah. So just to kind of put a pin in this spot, then how do you feel leaders, and maybe you can use your own experience, or maybe as you've heard from others, how do you feel like they get to a place where they would resent these things, these events, or maybe even the holidays, the big ones?
I think when you lose your sense of why you're doing it, when
Yeah.
when the why is still just the same reason. We do this because it's always been done. We do it this way because it's
right.
This is what we do, and this is what we're known for. We always have this singing Christmas tree, like whatever. Like those are things, and nobody likes it, but everybody shows up. And we hate putting this thing together. The choir looks like they're gonna die every year.
Yeah.
But the show must go on, and it's that mentality, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. So let me shift gears a little bit then and talk more of the pros, I guess the benefits. From your perspective, what are the things and your experience that you have seen that are the benefits of these events and even these holidays for your ministries?
So I'll tell you a story.
He's laughing. This should be fun.
Just happened a couple weeks ago. Somebody came up to me at church and they're like, "Man, I'm finally excited to be here." I'm like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, we came to a fireworks show like 2 years ago." I was like, "Oh, well, it took you a while to get here, but we're still here." And they're like, "Yeah, as soon as I got out of jail, this is the place I knew I needed to be."
That's awesome.
Give me a hug. That is awesome. Like it creates that as soon as I know I need to get right with God.
Yeah.
This is the place I want to be. This is the church that I can connect with. This is the one that shot off fireworks. This is the one that had crazy donkeys. This is the one my kid can't stop talking about because they had such a good time at this event or that event, or you were at their school, and so this is the one that has shown that they cared for me. You're talking about the mental health that nobody else is talking about. Like you have done so many things that they have heard you so many times or about you or experienced you, that at their point of making that decision to come to a church, you're the one that's the first on their mind.
Yeah. You're the one that's going to be able to meet the need that they have in that space. And you've already made the community connection. So now it's the care portion. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I would say it took us, when I lived in Oregon, it took us 9 months from the time we knew where we were supposed to go to the time we actually went there. It took us about 9 months to make that transition. And the pastors of the church they thought, "Oh man, we'll never see them again," because it took us so long. But we had things that were needing to be wrapped up. God was doing some things in our lives that we had to, not put a bow on, but that God had to bring us to and through before we actually made the move. And so, but it was because we had made a community connection and relationship outside of a church function.
Yeah, I think if you, and we've said this a few times, if you really can think strategically of doing something, not just to do it, but what is the, as you said, the follow-up piece, Billy, events and holidays, especially Easter, can be great net casting opportunities, because it is putting you, not just your church out there, but also, I like to think we're presenting it, Christianity as maybe something that they thought is completely different. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you can have fun, or, oh, we can connect on things that are, similar interests and things like that. And I think if you can keep that perspective from a strategic standpoint, that can be a huge benefit to what you're trying to, the mission that you're trying to accomplish in your specific context, outside of, the whole go and make disciples thing that we all are on the same page for. So we said this a couple times, thinking strategically. So tell us, how have you guys learned to think strategically with events? Like, what goes into the decision-making process of saying yes or no?
The very first thing that goes on the calendar is my vacation time.
It's good. That's huge. That could almost be its own podcast episode, but keep going. Yeah, that's good.
Because it's mandatory to get away, both as husband and wife, but then also as a family. Mm-hmm. And so we find out when are we getting away, when are our staff getting away, and make sure like that they have turned in some times off, and so because they're the ones that are right beside us doing this. And so we need to honor them in that. Then the very next one we go to is the school calendar. Whether you like it or not, most people's lives run off of a school calendar. Because if they're not a parent, they're a grandparent, or they're an aunt, or they're an uncle, and so then you start to take in, like, we're a factory town, and so there's factory shutdowns. There's certain community festivals that happen that if you're going to schedule anything on that weekend, you're screwed. Mm-hmm. Like you're not reaching the community, and you're probably keeping your community from being involved in that community.
But hunting season, by the way, that's another one for us. Like, I know there are certain times of the year for our men's events, especially because we have a fall men's retreat. I had better get that done in September. Otherwise they're not going to be there, 100%. Yeah.
Even though Purdue sucks at football, they're going to go to the games, especially early in the season. So
that's another thing here. Absolutely.
My wife drove out for one couple hours to go to a game. Yeah,
and she doesn't even like Purdue.
No, she doesn't.
Anyway,
so keeping an eye on those types of things. There are. We've tried to measure and have metrics for when we grow, when we see the most amount of visitors year over year.
Oh yeah.
And so we get nerdy and spreadsheet all that stuff. Like, these are notorious growing weekends, and these are notorious low weekends. Well, but then also try to strategize with that and say, let's do baptism on a notorious low Sunday, or let's give away free. Like this year, past year, we gave away free T-shirts on the lowest Sunday of the year, and guess what? It wasn't the lowest Sunday anymore.
That's awesome.
There were still just as many people traveling, but we made it like an update of a database thing. And so in order to get a free T-shirt, you had to fill out this form. And so we got everybody's new phone numbers and new emails and new home addresses, and everybody got a free T-shirt that showed up, and you had to be in the room to get a free T-shirt. So,
well, weren't you telling me that reminds me, because we were talking somewhat recently, and you were telling me how when you started to kind of look at those trends of when whatever, you'd noticed a shift from what you thought people were showing up more, but actually that had shifted to like even into the summer, if I remember right. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. We were looking at, and you think everybody's traveling on summer. Well, maybe everybody's traveling at the first of summer, but they run out of money.
Yeah, same.
True. It's true.
So when do they start showing back up? And so you got new home purchasers that are purchasing, that finally purchase at the beginning of summer, get settled in, and then start to look for a new church in their new area.
Yep.
And so we saw more and more showing up towards the middle and end of July. And it was like, oh, okay, this is not what we thought was going to happen. We didn't know we could grow during this season, or that we will. And so it's scheduling my vacation based off of that.
I want to point something else though, Billy, because oftentimes, so once again, that's another thing when you talk about attendance and specifically maybe attendance with participation. I think maybe that's what we're talking about when we talk this. We have a tendency sometimes that can also be a weight on us, or we're burdened by that. But that's another thing that can actually be a helpful tool. In fact, I remember when we were plotting out our message series for this year that we're currently in, having that conversation with you about that. And that actually made me go back to the drawing board and go, oh, when are people, when are they here? And when do we see more new faces, that kind of a thing. And that also helps me think strategically in the series, whether it's going to be more evangelistic, or it's going to be more discipleship focused, or even, community involvement type of a thing based on those type of things, because every church, the ones that maybe we would consider that don't have the same means as some of the larger ones and things like that, we still track the very basic of those kinds of things. And those are things we can take into consideration when it comes to how we're plotting out strategically these events and who we are expecting to target and reach.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, while well, it may be ego based, I guess. I mean, you're feeling the room full, and that's nice to speak to a nice full room. But the Sunday you walk home and whoa, there's 25% of the people gone. Oh, they don't like me anymore.
For
No,
sure.
they went on spring break.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they always go to spring break.
Yeah,
They've
that's
been
good.
saving up for spring break. Like, stop
Yeah.
beating yourself up over that. It's not you.
Well, it isn't. I think I'd have to look this up, but statistically, the lowest attended Sunday of the year is the Sunday right after Easter, right? And so we have, this big whatever. Oh, look it up. I guarantee you could track
Right.
it. It's probably one of your lower ones.
Yeah.
I know
It's
it has
one of the
been.
lower ones,
yeah,
yeah.
and you look back and you go, wait, where's everybody saying he is risen? What's going on? What's
Yeah.
That was last week.
I'm
Chad.
gonna resent this now. That was last week. Yeah, exactly. All right, so Billy talked about it. Brenton, what are some of your approaches to even calendaring of these things?
Yeah. So, yes, put your vacation on very early.
Mm-hmm.
Plan out your normal, the things that your family, because what I've noticed is if I don't take care of my family, there are things that come and impose on the calendar.
Yeah.
So make sure the family, your ones that you're called to steward, are taken care of first. Then I look at the ebb and flow of our city, what it is, and then who do I have around me? Is what we want to do, because I dream big, but is what I want to do actually something that we are capable of doing in our current?
Yeah, that's good.
And if not, then is somebody going to partner with us? And if not, then I need to scale back my dream to be able to accomplish the goal of what we're trying to accomplish. So those are some of my, just really look at what is happening, who's around me. Is this feasible, or is this a dream that's out there a few more years and we should start talking about it now?
That's good.
To plan into it. And then what is the state of, like, the real thing, the mental state of my team?
Yeah. Should we even do this right now?
Should we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm one of those guys that were like, hey, we're going to take the mountain. Everyone climb on my back and let's go. And they're like dead weight sometimes, just because, not because they're,
no, I get it.
It's like, it's my vision, and the Lord and I are working together on this, and it's not the vision of somebody else. And so I'm like, let's take it. And then afterwards I go, oh, that sucked. That was tough. And I think I think leaders need to do that at least once, so they realize, like, that's not healthy. That's not, nobody won out of that move. And then we go, okay, how are you guys doing? I know that you signed up for this when you put your name on the line and gave everything to Jesus and to your pastor.
That's good.
Yeah. So how are you doing? And that's a question that we've been asking a lot more.
Well, and that's just as critical as even thinking strategically, because you can have all of the vision and all that, but if we're not in the place to actually make that go, because they're not ready. And I've actually found there are some things I almost have to stair step into. I want it to become culture and where we go, but we're not there yet. And so I have to, all right, what's the next step that we can take for that? And then, where eventually we will get to when I say, hey, we're going to do X, Y, Z. And they're like, yeah, that's right. That makes actual sense to where we're at. And so I think that's wise. 100%. I think this has been great burst. I love it.
I think the one thing I think of as events, it's a great onboarding for a first-time volunteer.
Yeah.
Okay. So
they get to connect with another leader.
Yeah.
It's their first time to serve, and you get to see them real time. You get to see if they showed up on time. You get to see if they interacted with kids, if they avoided them like the plague. You get to see
right.
and watch, and then say and follow up. That leader can follow up with them. Hey, I saw this in you.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you're not committed on a regular basis to use your giftings and talents. Would you be open to exploring that and use what I saw you love doing, You were taking pictures with your phone the entire time. Hey, you're a photographer and we didn't even know this. What is going on? And so it's a great way to onboard everybody in one way or another. But you got to teach your leaders to, hey, you're maybe leading the parking team. I need you to pay attention to what they're good at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so
I love that. And actually, as you were speaking, that just jogged me. You know, I think they can be great platforms for anybody to step up into something. You know what I mean? Like it's somebody you've been working with for a while, and it's like, you know, hey, I need you to, maybe even take on more leadership roles than you have at all.
Yeah.
Period. And
capacity.
I can't do this without you unless you're right there with me, kind of a thing. Yeah, I think that's good. That's good. Okay, so let's talk about Easter specifically. We mentioned earlier, we're like, literal days away from it, at least at the time of recording this. So not including your theology, okay? Because that's not what we're talking about here. All right? Yes. How do you view Easter as a pastor?
I love it. It's a way to tell the main story in a different way. And so I love to jump into it and say, what has nobody seen in this story? A few years ago, we did Judas ate too, right? Like Jesus fed Judas as well.
That's right. Like we did that with you. It was good
because there's some parts that you just never think of in the story.
Yeah.
Like that, like literally where Jesus is in the garden and I don't know if it's in every Bible, so don't shoot the messenger in this, but it was in mine and that was printed. It was actually on paper when Jesus said, "Not my will," and there was, I think, the semicolon, "but yours be done." And so I got all grammatically correct on it. What does a semicolon mean? And literally our advertisement for Easter was just a giant semicolon. And that was what it was.
Yeah.
We did tattooed Jesus and so showed Jesus taking on the sins of the world, literally by taking on the shame and the guilt and the suicide and that being tatted on his body. We had Jesus, death row Jesus, and built a jail cell, the original Walking Dead. And so right. We've just said, you know what, this story that everybody thinks that they heard and that they know so many times, how could they look at it like this? And that was when Walking Dead was huge. And so we did it and said, let's come at it that way. And the last year was, and strategically, going back to Easter landed on the weekend that everybody came back from spring break.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, what would Jesus cancel? And so we made WWJC bracelets, and so that, if nobody's going to be here, then let's cancel the worship, let's cancel the lights, let's cancel the egg hunts, let's cancel it all, because there's other things that are more important. What would Jesus cancel about Easter?
That's good.
And so that's been my personal approach to talk about Easter in a way that nobody's thinking of it.
Yeah. I'd say I look at it as a huge opportunity. Even if no one new would walk in through my doors, the opportunity to share the gospel. There's an expectation of, if you go to church on Easter, there's something that's going to be shared. It's going to be the gospel. And that is the hope of our salvation. It is everything that I base my life upon is Jesus Christ and him risen from the dead. So it's a chance to share that story plainly and in a new way. Like Billy was saying, I find unique ways to share a story that if you go every Easter, you're hearing essentially one or two of the stories surrounding. We're going to hear Jesus risen from the dead. It is so much more than that. And so what unique ways can we tie in, and what does that mean for us? And I could preach a whole sermon here.
Don't do it.
As we, thank you. Thank you for permission. In all of it though, it's a new opportunity and but we know statistically that is the day Easter and Christmas are the days that people who are unchurched, their family feels comfortable to invite, and the people are more likely to attend on Easter or Christmas than any other day of the year. Yeah. So I look forward to it and the opportunity it brings, even with the added like imposed, maybe it's self-imposed obligation from those things. Yeah. Even with that extra, I'm going to use the word anxiety. I don't like it, but the extra stress that comes around that, the pressure of that, I look forward to it because there's an opportunity. And if God can show up and touch one person, he'd be there for one. So I can be here for one. So I just look at it with anticipation as well as balancing all of the other things. Yeah,
that's good. And I want to say I agree with you both, 100%. In fact, I can say, especially having, where we started with this conversation and where I was at and where I'm at now, I have learned to grow into it where it is an excitement. There's an expectation. It's not what it used to be. The one caveat that I would add to everything that you guys have said leading up to this is for any leader listening here and going, I'm overwhelmed, that seems like a lot, stay true to who you are. And I think that's one of the ways that I have learned to not resent this. So to give context, Billy, the name of his church is Innovation. That's what they are looking for, ways to do things differently. So all of these things, they're not extra. That is who they are, right? Yeah. I think one of the things that I would come into Easter and go, we try to put on this show and this whatever, and that's not who we are the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Right. And so what are we good at? Who are we? Well, we are good at community. We are good at getting together and doing things. So we've turned that entire weekend into that. Like even Good Friday, we're trying something different where it's, I actually think it was Tim Lee I got this idea from of more of a celebration of life and what you would do on Good Friday if somebody, had passed away. Well, you eat and you hang out afterwards. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a barbecue. We're joining with another church in the area to get together to do that. And then on Sunday, we're doing more of that. We're going to have our services. We'll do an earlier service, but in between that, we're going to have, breakfast, brunch style, basically type of a thing. And that way we have an earlier service, kind of Billy, what you were talking about, same thing. All of those who are serving in that can come to that one. There's no child services on that one. Do the brunch together. And then the later service, that's where we have child, the full on type of thing. That way everybody gets a chance to celebrate that kind of a thing. And so I think for me, I view it as a great opportunity. I am looking to be a lot more, not that I'm not already, but maybe a little bit extra in the evangelistic approach within my message, and trying to truly present who Jesus is, why he did what he did for us, and why that's going to be better for you, type of a thing. However that form and fits, and whether it's ending a series, starting a new one. This year we're actually launching one, so it's a little bit different, but it's also coming from the approach of things that people struggle with. And so it makes it more presentable within that context as well. But as long as I keep, in front of me that this is just who we are, and we're not doing anything extra. We're just maybe adding more services, but there's no expectation that I got to be shot out of a cannon so everybody will go, ooh, kind of a thing.
Come on, Chad.
I don't have the budget for it this year, guys. It just missed the cut.
We might be able to borrow a cannon from somebody. I'm just saying. Could I say one more thing?
It'll be Billy. He can find it. One. Yeah, Billy can do it. Yeah. Go ahead. Billy, yes, please.
I just wanted to say that there have been years. So we've been, actually today is my 8-year pastor anniversary here at this church.
Congratulations. Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. I would say that there have been some years in there where when I was not as healthy, I have told, I think I approach Easter with an anticipation. I know these things that I was just saying, but there were a few years where I had said during the prep side of it to my wife that, I was like, I am just not looking forward to this. Yeah. And it's not that it was more based on me and my health, and my, the place I was with the Lord. And working through what am I called to do? And as I wrestled through with some of that, the healthier you get, the more you can look at everything with a more positive mindset towards it. And when things aren't healthy, it's really hard to be optimistic about things.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's a struggle. So like, if I would say to the ones that are resenting Easter, or maybe just not excited to go into these seasons, that there is life in Jesus, and it's not necessarily wrapped around the event of something. And when you find life, and it energizes those places where God's calling you to actually pour your life into.
Yeah.
So that's my I've been on both sides of it.
That's really well said. No, because you're right. It really does have to start with, the health of you, and how you approach not just events, but ministry, period. I can see that applying to literally everything within my own life and ministry. If I'm not in a good place, nothing else will be. And I'm certainly not going to look forward to doing it.
Your marriage, your family, I mean, those things all play into how you look forward or towards the calling that of ministry in these different contexts. And, pour into the things that are important first, and then out of the overflow. I feel like that's the gift of the Holy Spirit, is the overflow. Yeah. You'll be a overflow of living water. If you're not experiencing the overflow, then go back to that place to get full.
Yeah, that's good.
So
that's good.
We started trying to get away a few weeks before Easter now, like our spring getaway or end of winter or whatever getaway. We've tried to come out and get that rest prior to Easter instead of just making it through it and then collapsing, but going into it out of a season of rest, out of a time away, out of a week away. And so I truly believe that has helped. And because we see a big window of growth between Easter and Mother's Day. And because then all the holidays are done and nobody can travel yet, and they're saving for their summer travel vacation. Yeah. They just came off of their spring break vacation, and so they got to build that travel budget back up. And so and there's not many school holidays, there's not many 3-day weekends to get away in between that. And so between Easter and Mother's Day, and especially Memorial Day, that you still have this good growth window, which is proof. I think it may be our second largest. I think we grow more in the fall. Okay. But that's our kind of second largest growth window, is that time between Easter and Memorial Day.
Once again, that the importance of paying attention, let's just call it that. Yeah. Maybe it's not even, you got to get as really down in the weeds of analytics, but just paying attention to your context, your culture, your church, all of these things as you're making these decisions. It's just going to help you feel like you're, being effective. I don't love the word successful, but effective.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's not that we're trying to play a numbers game. It's that we're trying to have compassion, like Jesus saw the people and had compassion on them. Mm-hmm. We're trying to be compassionate towards our culture. It's not just a metric. It's when are they here? When are they going to arrive? And what is it that they need to hear? What are they walking through? And that's being connected with our community. That's good. And knowing that.
That's good. Yeah. I want to end with something. I made myself to note to make sure, and I'm glad I caught this before we got off, because you mentioned, Billy, and Brent, you can speak to this too as well, in the beginning, how the follow-up, is almost as important, if not maybe more important, when it comes to the events or, with the holidays. So help us out. What are some best practice that you have found when it comes to the follow-up?
Yeah. The best way right now that we've struggled with it just as much as anybody, because whether you have somebody filling out a Connect card and then transcribing all that stuff, like then reading somebody's handwriting, all that crazy things, we've gone to using. I'm glad. I mean, I'm not glad about COVID, but I'm glad COVID brought back the QR code. And now it's socially acceptable to have a QR code somewhere, and somebody wants to scan it to see. And so we've done a good job of just scanning QR codes and texting. and creating automations to follow with that. That we use the Glue texting service, and so right now everybody that's signing up to ride a donkey is texting the word donkey. Now we have their contact information, and we try not to spam. We try not to add them to our church list.
Sure.
We try to add them to a community list. And when we're doing community things, usually a few weeks after, we say, do you want to know more about innovation? Do you want, and so we let them kind of opt in to how many texts that they receive. And so finding a way to gather that information. And so what's worked best for us is a QR code or a text this and win this, text this and get connected, text this and get a free gift, or text this to sign up for a donkey egg hunt, all that stuff. And so it's not trying to read somebody's handwriting or anything like that, and trying to give them a resource with that, right? Like even after our salvation message, we're like, text the word follow to this number and you receive a booklet called Following Jesus. Why don't I hand it to you? Because you're going to lose it in your car. Yeah. Like, it is that small, but it's 7 principles of what it looks like to follow Jesus, and it's on your phone so that you can carry it with you wherever you go. And so they receive something for that, and then I can say, hey, how you doing? Have you read? What'd you think about chapter 1? Or I can automate in 7 days to follow up to automatically send. How are you reading? How did that go? Do you have any questions? And so automation is not the enemy, and not hands off. Yeah. It is relieving a pain point, and so we try to make those things. And I get an email and get the text messages back, and so it's not like I'm hands off on all of it.
Yeah, that's good. Really helpful. Super practical. Yeah, and that follow resource, is that something that people can get? What's something you guys have made, or what is that?
No, Glue is a free texting to churches resources, and so you get assigned a phone number. It's the full phone number, and so you don't have to worry about short codes not working with your carrier or being blocked or anything. You get 10,000 a month for free.
Whoa. So
okay. And you can, I know they have paid models and stuff like that, but I mean, 10,000 for free, just text messages that you can send out. Okay. So you can create different groups. This is our visitor group. This is our regular attenders, and it just sends out. And they can opt out. They can say stop or anything. I mean, obviously you don't want to text 900 people all at once and never stop. You can tell them it's coming, or tell them to text the word start, or like we always have problems with people being able to find our app, and so we say text the word app, and it sends them the link, both Android and iPhone, that all they have to do is click that. And so we do all types of things with it, and 10,000 is a lot. Yeah. and so there's a lot of cool features in it as well, with connecting to your community, with people looking for a church. Literally, there's website ads that you're not paying for, and people are clicking, and then they're generating them to you because they're looking for relationship help, mental health help, church. Finding a church that cares, and so
that's good. Well, for sure, I'm going to find that and put the link to all that in the show notes for sure. It's a good resource. So, well, guys, this has been helpful for sure. I just for me, and I know it's going to be helpful for others. And I love when the three of us can mash our practicalities together, and
we're
hopefully
supposed to be eating tacos, though, aren't we?
I know, or breakfast food someplace in a restaurant with the color hunter green prominent every place.
Yeah, that is. I tried to wear it for you.
You did. You did. I saw that. Just for those who don't know what we're talking about, I was usually in charge of finding the place because it was on the north side of Indianapolis, so that was central to all of us. And I had this, and I didn't try, but I had this habit. You
don't have to in this state.
That's right. Finding every restaurant we went to had hunter green prominent everywhere on the signage and the seats, wherever. And so that was just became the thing of like, when we found one that didn't, it was like, wait, what? Where are we?
You can't eat here. Keep driving.
What portal did we fall through? So, very good.
For the rest of us, thank you for joining. Chad, it's been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Billy,
Yes, good to be here,
you are
guys.
an
Thank you.
amazing man with so many ideas.
Yes.
Oh no! Tell my wife.
I'm texting her now. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So ways to get a hold of Billy will be in the show notes below.
That's right.
Chad and I, we are everywhere, as well as Billy. You're everywhere, it seems like.
I don't know about everywhere, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
That's a fun way to really.
with texting, you can get there.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that, thanks for joining us.
Yes. We'll see you next time.